Also, at this end of the shipyard over to our right, you'll see a large white floating dry dock. The dry dock is called the Titan. Function of a floating dry dock like the Titan is to lift the ship up out of the water so bottom side repairs can be made to the ship. To explain how the floating dry dock works, first they flood tanks located within the walls and floors of the dry dock. They flood the tanks with river water, which allows the dry dock to then sink down into the river. With the dry dock mostly submerged, tugboats will carefully assist the ship by floating over top of the dry dock. Once the ship is carefully placed over top of the dry dock, it slowly pump the water back out of the tanks, which then makes the dry dock become buoyant, and it will slowly rise to the surface and lift the ship completely out of the water. But we won't see any ships inside of that dry dock today. As we continue our turn, coming up on our right, another privately owned shipyard. This is a General Dynamics yard, one of two that we'll see on the tour. They perform primarily government contract work. You'll see their floating dry dock coming up on our right, gray in color. There's a ship in the dry dock. It's number 95, which is the USS James Williams. The James Williams is an Arleigh Burke class Aegis guided missile destroyer. It's a high-tech warship that features an advanced computer and radar weapon system known as Aegis. We'll go into great detail about ships like her later today at the naval base.
Thank you, Daisy.
Also at the yard over to our right, hull number 24, that is the USS Arlington. The Arlington is a San Antonio class LPD, or landing platform dock. San Antonio class ships are the newest class of amphibious assault ship that we'll see on our tour. That ship is 684 feet long, 105 feet wide. It has a crew of 361 and the ability of carrying 800 Marines. Now I'll explain more about the amphibious assault operations on the larger amphibious assault ships that we'll view later at the naval base. Beyond the shipyard to our right is the eastern branch of the Elizabeth River. Spanning across the eastern branch is the Berkeley Bridge, which is part of Interstate 264. It connects to the downtown tunnel, which passes below the southern branch, which is back behind us now. Ahead of us and to our right, the downtown Norfolk waterfront. 12 round building to our right is Dominion Tower, standing at 26 stories. It's the tallest building in the downtown area. To the left of Dominion Tower, you'll see the Waterside Sheraton, which offers 445 guest rooms. To the left of the Sheraton is a two-story building with a gray roof that is the Waterside District, a newly renovated 30,000 square foot facility that features a variety of unique food and beverage choices, as well as a stage for live entertainment. Along the waterfront to our right is the Waterside Municipal Marina. Docked at the marina is a green and white-hulled sailing vessel named the American Rover. She's a 135-foot topsail schooner available for both private charter and walk-on sailing trips. The American Rover is also our fleet mate. Also docked in the slip to our right is north of the marina. There's a tall sailing ship. That is the Capitan Miranda. It's the official tall sailing ship, I believe, from Uruguay. Visiting here in Norfolk for a few days. Usually when the tall ships visit here, they are available for tour. For tour times on board the ship, you'll have to see the gangway. They usually have a sign at the end of the gangway indicating when you might be able to go on board and check out the ship. Docked to the waterfront to our right, big black and white boat is the Spirit of Mount Vernon. She offers lunch and dinner cruises. Behind her, a smaller black and white boat that was named the Freedom Elite, which is used for private charter only. Both vessels to our right are operated by City Cruises. Large grassy area to our right is Town Point Park. The park is used extensively throughout the warmer months of the year to host a variety of festivals and special events. Several concerts are also performed at the park, some of which are free and open to the public. This will be a prime viewing spot for many folks here for the fireworks later on today. Fireworks presentation for the 4th of July, I believe, is supposed to start at 9:30 this evening. Ahead of us to our right, past the trees in Town Point Park, large gray structure is Nauticus, the National Maritime Center. a $52 million maritime museum that features a variety of exhibits, such as interactive videos, hands-on simulations, and traveling exhibits, all known from other museums. Nauticus is also home to the Hampton Roads Naval Museum, as well as the Battleship Wisconsin. We'll see the battleship ahead of us in just a minute. But first, coming up on our right next to Nauticus, you'll see the Half Moon Cruise and Celebration Center. It is a cruise ship terminal and convention center in one, an 80,000 square foot multi-purpose facility constructed at a cost of $36 million. The pier coming up on our right is where the cruise ships dock. Most of the cruises that run out of Norfolk are cruises to Bermuda, the Bahamas, and the Caribbean. Now, coming into view ahead of us to our right, past the cruise ship terminal, we'll see the Battleship Wisconsin, bearing the hull number 64. Wisconsin is an Iowa-class battleship, last of the four that were constructed. Wisconsin was commissioned April 16, 1944, her first service being World War II. Wisconsin is a rather large ship, 887.5 feet long, weighs in at 45,000 gross tons, and originally carried a crew of 2,900 sailors on board. If you look on the rear deck of the Wisconsin, you'll see some rather large guns. This is 16-inch guns, the largest guns ever deployed on a United States naval warship. There's a total of 9 of them on board the Wisconsin. The guns are situated 3 to a turret. One turret on the rear of the ship, and the other 2 turrets are located up forward. The barrels on these guns are the approximate length of a tractor-trailer rig, which is about 60 feet long. They're capable of firing a 2,700-pound projectile up to 23 nautical miles. Also on board the Wisconsin are 12 smaller 5-inch guns, 6 of them located on either side of the superstructure of the ship. If you'd like to go aboard the Wisconsin for a tour, visitation on the ship is included with the admission to Nauticus, the National Maritime Center. Also over to our right, docked on the inside of the pier, is a 2-masted sailing vessel with a black hull. That's the Schooner Virginia. For a short period of time, she served as the tall sail ambassador ship for the state of Virginia. It was modeled after 1920s Virginia pilot schooner. She's under 22 feet in length. It was constructed in Norfolk about 18 years ago. It's now part of the sailing program at Nauticus. Off to our right, complex of white buildings with blue trim. That's NOAA. NOAA stands for the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. At that facility, they use information that's gathered from NOAA research ships to make charts. Charts used around the maritime industry like maps, they show navigational channels, water depths, and many different hazards, such as sunken ships. To the left of NOAA is the Brambleton Avenue Bridge, and beyond the bridge, an older section of Norfolk known as Ghent. Many of the homes over there in Ghent date back to the late 1800s. Next waterfront structure coming up on our right, the pier condominiums, originally built back in the 1920s. Back then, the building was used as a storage warehouse. As you can see, the building's been renovated and turned into nice waterfront condos. Also coming up on the right, some new construction. That would be the gray and brown buildings. That's a new waterfront apartment complex called the Lofts at Front Street.
I had a music. How did they have it? I haven't played it. They got a huge space. Probably they're gonna make another. Alright, well.
Coming up on our right, two high-rise brick buildings that make up a very nice retirement condominium community called Harbor's Edge. The building closest to us is the original construction, built at the cost of $90 million. The second building, just a bit further inshore, is a fairly new $200 million addition to the facility. Coming up on our right, unusual looking white building. It's called the Waterfield Building. It serves as the headquarters for the United States Army Corps of Engineers. One of the many things the Corps of Engineers is responsible for is to maintain our harbors and rivers, as well as the Atlantic and our coastal waterway. They help to remove debris that can pose a threat to safe navigation. Behind the Waterfield Building, you'll see some white brick walls and some black cannons on the lawn. It's all part of Old Fort Norfolk, which was in use in the War of 1812. The fort served as the city of Norfolk's secondary line of defense against the British invasion. Fortunately, during that conflict, the British never made it as far up the Elizabeth River. Therefore, the fort to our right never saw actual combat. Now, on our left-hand side, directly to our left, is another General Dynamics shipyard. There are two ships at the yard over to our left. Both ships are identical. They're the Cape Ray and the Cape Race. Those two ships are owned by our government and are operated for our government by MARAD, which is short for Maritime Administration. It's indicated to us by seeing the red, white, and blue bandage painted around the smokestacks of the ships. Function of the two ships to our left is transporting supplies during a time of war or a national emergency. The ships are pretty much stored there at the shipyard year-round.
Sana post for 30 days.
In a few seconds, we'll pass right over top one of two tunnels here in the downtown area. This one's called the Midtown Tunnel. You won't be able to see the tunnel. It passes far below the river. But as a reference of its location, if you look inshore to our right, you'll see two brick buildings. Those are the ventilation houses in the Norfolk end of the tunnel. And off to our left-hand side, the two more brick buildings. Those are the ventilation houses marking the Portsmouth end of the tunnel. And just out of this to our right, small private shipyard called Marine Hydraulics Internationally Incorporated. The two ships in for service at the pier coming up on our right. On the south side of the pier is a
Yeah,
great ship named the
stable.
Rhine. It's a government-owned ship that's operated for our government by MARAD, and it's indicated by seeing the red, white, and blue banding spread around the smokestack of the ship. This is another ship that would be used in transporting equipment or supplies during a time of war or national emergency. The ship's been here for about a month for some service work. On the north side of the pier is naval ship number 19, which is the USS Mesa Verde. The Mesa Verde is a San Antonio class LPD or landing platform dock, identical to number 24, the USS Arlington that we saw earlier downtown. Now looking to our left-hand side for a minute. Off to our left is the old Portsmouth Marine Terminal. It used to be set up as a containerized cargo handling facility. We'll see a large orange and white ship at the docks off to our left. That used to be an Italian cargo ship that was recently purchased by our government. The ship is now under the jurisdiction of the Federal Maritime Administration. Eventually, that ship could be used in transporting equipment or supplies during a time of war or emergency. Our government has been purchasing up some more modern cargo ships to replace much older ships in their fleet. The ship to our left is just recently renamed as the Cape Star. Pieces of things, supplies off to our left, that is all in support of wind farm construction. They're building a wind farm 27 miles off the coast of Virginia Beach. There are currently 2 test turbines out there right now that are producing electricity. Their goal is to construct a total of 178 wind turbines on site of the wind farm, and that will cover an area of 100,000 acres. Go back to our right-hand side, over to our right, the Lambert's Point Federal Cargo Piers. See 3 ships making the corridor over to our right. Currently, we'll see one container ship in the facility off to our left. The cranes is not working that ship right now. Ships from the Mediterranean Shipping Company. Also off to our left, but to the right of the container terminal that I just pointed out, you see a Coast Guard base in Portsmouth. That's part of District 5 of the U.S. Coast Guard, locally known as Coast Guard Sector Virginia, which is responsible for all of the search and rescue needs here in the Hampton Roads area. And it just occurred to me the reason why we won't see the ship being worked over to our left today is July 4th, of course a holiday. And the shipping companies are not usually willing to pay the rates that they would have to pay to get the guys to come in to work on such a holiday. It's at least double time for them to come in today. Now back to our right-hand side, coming up on our right, the Norfolk Southern Coal Piers. Pier in operation is Pier 6, which came online back in 1963. Despite its age, it's still one of the fastest coal loading facilities in the world. The coal is brought here by the Norfolk Southern Railway and is loaded on the ships and barges using the two 17-story tall loading cranes on Pier 6. These loaders can load two ships at the same time, or both concentrate on a single ship and load a maximum of 8,000 tons of coal in only 1 hour. The coal's mined in the states of Virginia, West Virginia, Kentucky, Pennsylvania, and Tennessee, and is supplied by about 120 different suppliers along the railway system. A lot of the coal exported from the piers bound for European countries. Much of the coal is a high grade of coal used primarily in the metallurgical industry, such as the manufacturing of steel. We'll see 3 ships here today. One on the south side of the pier is mostly loaded, still has a little rim left. And on the north side of the pier, there are 2 ships. One closest to us looks pretty empty right now. And they are actively loading coal today. Quite often, Norfolk Southern is still operational even during holidays.
Thank you so much, Colin.
Back to our left-hand side, coming up on our left, the facility with the large white tanks. That's the Craney Island Fuel Depot, which is the largest military fuel depot in the United States and one of the largest in the world. Most of the fuel at this facility is supplied from a very long pipeline called the Colonial Pipeline, which originates in the state of Texas. At the fuel pier, the Navy's oilers take on just over 7 million gallons of petroleum products. Once the oilers are full of fuel, they will then get underway and head out to sea and refuel Navy warships while traveling alongside of them. That's under a method known as underway replenishment. The Navy calls it UNREPS for short. We won't see any orders here at this facility right now, but we'll probably see one later out of the naval base.
Abby, good channel. Ay, ganun ba? Mamaya mag-jacket ako. Hindi. Hindi ko alam. Hindi ko alam kung ano. Sipain o hindi. Alright. 30 minutes lang to. Kaya off ko natin yung 30 minutes. Don't katay.
Over to our left-hand side, left long stretch of barren land is the Craney Island Dump. Craney Island Dump's a 2,500-acre man-made disposal area that's used to deposit dredge spoils. Dredge is used to widen and deepen channels in our harbors and rivers. Depending on the type of the dredge, it'll either scoop up or pump up mud and sand off the bottom. Mud and sand that is removed from the bottom is called a spoil. The location to our left is where these spoils are deposited. Dredging is done to maintain a safe depth of water for vessels that will be operating in a channel or a particular area that's been dredged. The channel we're operating in right now has been dredged to a depth of 50 to 55 feet.
Okay. Alright, thank you sa lahat. Thank you so much very guys. Happy 4th of July. Off ka na kasi wala na nawawalan signal dito. See you next time.